The 8-bit Sonic games are a part of the franchise I've just never gotten into. I never had a Game Gear growing up, and the Master System was well before my time, so my only exposure to these games has been through re-release collections, which always offered more compelling options. There was always one, though, that caught my eye, and that I finally got around to playing recently: Tails Adventure. Tails Adventure is Tails' first and only solo game, unless you live in Japan where they got Sky Patrol, but I don't think we're really missing out there. This game released on the Game Gear back in 1995, courtesy of Aspect, who also developed a bunch of other well-loved titles for the platform. We're actually not going to be talking about the Game Gear version today, though. Thanks to Freezing Ice Kirby over on the SMS Power forums, and with an additional bug fix patch by Badness, we can actually play a full-on port of this game to the Master System. This neat little hack expands the game's screen size to be a lot less cramped, as well as adding a fully functional save system to replace the original's password system. This is a fantastic upgrade to the original game, and if you're going to play it, this is the way to do it. When you boot up the game, the title screen says Tails Adventures with an S, but the box art just says Tails Adventure, and I like that better, so I'm going to go with that. Tails Adventure takes place on Coco Island, the at-the-time resting place of the Chaos Emeralds, and home to one of Tails' workshops. The Battle Cuckoos, led by Great Battle Cuckoo 15, have invaded the island with the intent to grab those Chaos Emeralds for themselves. Personally, I would not mess with a guy named Great Battle Cuckoo 15, but Tails is a brave little guy, so he takes it upon himself to put a stop to their plans. Exactly when this game takes place is kind of nebulous. In the Japanese manual, it's stated that this game takes place before Sonic 2, which might explain why Tails is slower and doesn't start out with a spin dash. In the US manual, though, it claims this game takes place after Sonic 2, at a time when Sonic and Tails just aren't actively adventuring together. This lines up a little better with the opening cutscene of Sonic 2 in Sonic Origins, where Tails is still pretty timid and easily bullied. Not the kind of guy who'd tangled with the Battle Cuckoos just yet. Neither of these are perfect, but Sonic continuity has never been airtight. Anyway, being something of a spin-off, Tails Adventure plays very differently from the main 2D Sonic games. Tails is much slower here, and the pace of gameplay follows suit. Instead of going fast and using that speed to fling yourself around levels, Tails Adventure is more about methodical exploration. Tails starts off with some pretty limited tools, with even your flight being restricted to a meter this time. Although the manual outright tells you how to exploit the mechanic for infinite flight, so the meter is mostly for show, I guess. If they really don't want you flying somewhere, they'll just add some wind to block you. In the absence of the spinball, Tails relies on bombs and gadgets to overcome obstacles and enemies. This might actually be the first time Tails is officially characterized as a gadget guy, in the games anyway. Sure, he's flown the Tornado, but that plane belongs to Sonic. As you explore Coco Island, you'll come across new gadgets to add to Tails' arsenal. Turns out this game is something of a mini Metroidvania. There's a handful of nifty little power-ups here, with some being new attacks and others being tools to solve puzzles with. One of my favorites is the remote robot. This adorable little guy is both a way to get into tight spaces and retrieve items, but also a handy way to scout around the level, even bypassing those windy, no-fly zones. This guy is useful in every level, and you should probably always keep him on you. That's definitely one of the rough edges here, though. You can only have 4 gadgets on you at any given time, which can only be swapped out at Tails' house. This can create a couple of annoying moments where you stumble upon an obstacle that needs a specific gadget, but it's not one of the 4 that you chose to bring out on that expedition. What makes this worse is that you'll have to walk all the way to the start or the end of a level to get back to the world map so you can go change your loadout. There's a teleporter item that can take you back to the world map from anywhere, but it's so late into the game that it doesn't really do anything to smooth this over. Tails can also only have 1 gadget assigned to the 2 button at a time. You can change them out by pausing and scrolling through the 4 you brought with you, and this is usually fine with the slower pace of the game, but it makes some items like the speed boots feel pretty useless. You have to equip the speed boots, hold 2 to run, and if you encounter an enemy, you now have nothing to defend yourself with. So you pause, select a weapon, and deal with the enemy, ultimately slowing yourself down more than if you had just kept walking. It's a consequence of the Game Gear only having those 2 face buttons, and one of them having to be used for jump. Ultimately, it didn't bother me too much, but I can't help but wish this game got a port to a system with a few more buttons to work with. I think one of the things that put me off of this game for so long was actually the opening level. Not only is the background very orange, a bold choice when your player character is also orange, but it's set in a burning forest with some appropriately urgent-sounding music. The vibe is just absolutely dire, not at all what I would have expected from a game starring a cutie like Tails. I get that we're in the midst of a Battle Cuckoo invasion, but even Sonic 3 started off lush and green for a moment before setting everything ablaze. Tails spends a lot of time trekking through dark caves in this game, which I suppose is the Metroidvania genre showing. There's some glimpses of a brighter atmosphere in places like Mount Poly Act 1, and I really would have liked to see more of the game looking like this. It just suits Tails much better in my opinion. As for the soundtrack as a whole, I'm pretty mixed on it. With most of the environments being on the gloomy and serious side, much of the soundtrack follows suit. There's some neat use of a 6/8 time signature in Volcanic Tunnel and Lake Rocky, but the standout track for me is definitely Mount Poly Act 1. This stage really is the only one that hits the vibe I want from a Tails game, I guess. Things also get pretty funky in Karen Forest, and I really like the overworld map theme. Overall though, this is one of those soundtracks I'm not really eager to listen to on its own. Still, there's a lot to like about Tails' Adventure. There's an entire second gameplay style here, piloting the Sea Fox in underwater segments that are actually pretty fun to explore. It even gets its own set of upgrades, all the way up to a full-on unlimited invincibility shield, which felt great after how hard it was to avoid some of these hazards. I really like the designs of the Battle Cuckoos, especially Battle Cuckoo 16. They make for a great enemy faction in the absence of Robotnik, and I can't help but wonder if this game's focus on bombs and birds had anything to do with Bean the Dynamite appearing in Sonic the Fighters the following year. The levels are fun to explore, and it's pretty satisfying when you find the right way to apply the different gadgets you come across. Really, it's just nice to see Tails getting the spotlight with how rare it is to even be able to play as the guy these days. I can't say I've played a ton of Game Gear or Master System games. This is actually the first game on either platform that I've played all the way through. Still, I feel pretty confident saying that Tails' Adventure is my favorite game in those libraries. Despite my criticisms, I had a great time playing through this one, and it would be pretty hard for anything else to top it. It's pretty short, definitely something you could beat in 1 or 2 sittings, and it's a really novel little entry in the wider Sonic catalog. If you're into Metroidvanias or even just neat little retro games, this is one I definitely recommend checking out.